Dude, I cannot believe they put microphones on all of the desks at the library. That's like really weird, right? Like that cannot help with the noise control problem. Everyone has microphones on their desk. I guess they just want to hear what we say. This university has gotten really paranoid lately. Honestly, the whole microphones on the desks thing, it's like Orwellian, isn't it? You've never read any Orwell? Oh my god. Didn't you have to read 1984 or something in high school? You never read 1984? It's like my favorite book. Yeah, I know it's kind of lame or whatever. Actually, let me get out my Sharpies from my bag, because I had wanted to inspect them all. That's why I wanted to take you to the library, so that I could touch my Sharpies a little bit. But Orwell, you've never read 1984 ever in your whole life. That's crazy. I know it's kind of nerdy, but I wasn't required to read them in high school, but I did anyway, just for fun, because some of my other friends had it as required reading in their classes, and they were talking about it, and I just wanted to be in on the conversation, so even though it wasn't in my curriculum, I read 1984 and I loved it. So then I reread it, and I even audited classes on it, so I'm really familiar with the plot. Actually, while I'm inspecting my Sharpies, do you want me to tell you about 1984? Because it's a really important book in the American canon of authors. Yeah? Okay. Well, let's see. 1984 starts off in this little farm with all of these talking farm animals, and they seem kind of content with their situation at first, but you can tell something's a little bit off, and things aren't really fair. And they have all these little meetings where they talk about different animal issues, and then they decide that it's really impertinent, impertinent, it's quite there's an immediate zeitgeist sort of feeling. Impertinent, important, pertinent. It's pertinent. It's pertinent, important, and impertinent. That they revolt. Sorry. I shouldn't apologize to this library microphone. I can't believe they're listening to us. Anyway, the animals decide to revolt. Ooh, that's an interesting one. The animals decide to revolt, and the revolution goes really, really well for them. And there's only one animal who doesn't like the revolution. It's this big, smart, talking gorilla. And he's clearly the smartest one, and that's why he doesn't like the revolution, because the moral of the story is that revolution is good, but it only works for societies of people who, or animals, because it's, it's about animals. It only works in these societies where everyone, is, kind of stupid, I guess. I mean, that's what I got from it, but I don't know. Anyway, so there's only one being that escapes, and it's this giant, talking, sentient gorilla, and he holds himself up in this little house way out in the city, and he's in a human city, and he puts out an ad in a local newspaper that says that he's looking for students, and that he will train any students who come see him towards enlightenment. And eventually this one guy is like, okay, yeah, I want to be enlightened. I've been looking for a teacher my whole life. So he goes to the gorilla's house, little hovel in the middle of a city, and he's really surprised when he meets this gorilla, and it's a gorilla and not a human, because he's like, how did you put this ad in the newspaper? And the gorilla's like, don't ask questions you don't want to know the answer to, but also we'll get to that later, because the whole animal revolting story is really it's close to his heart, and he doesn't want to divulge more than he has to, or at least sooner than he has to. So very slowly over the course of this book, this gorilla tells this man all of the secrets to life and the little tidbits of wisdom that he found through his life. And really the thesis of it is that man should be less focused on themselves and more focused on the world around them. It's pretty beautiful when you think about it. I mean, I would have never thought of that. So it's a really important book. Sharpies and anything, you could use them as chopsticks as long as you're willing to chop them and stick them. That's what my mom always said. I'm not very good at doing it with my left hand, though. So anyway, the ape teaches this guy all of these secrets to life, and then the guy is like, oh my goodness, that was such a wealth of information. I cannot comprehend all that right now. I need to go on this big soul-searching journey through the Arctic. So he gets on a boat and he goes into the Arctic. I know, so crazy. That's Orwellian, that decision to just go into the Arctic Ocean by yourself because you learned a lot of things. So Orwellian. So then he's on this boat and he's writing letters to his gorilla friend back home, and also these other people, some of his friends. And while he's on this soul-searching journey in the Arctic, he decides that whenever he gets back home, he wants to try and create human life. Because, like he learned from the gorilla, man should be less focused on themselves and more focused on the world around them. So, he's going to try to make a man out of the world around him. So he takes all these body parts from all these different places so that he can create a body that is working and stuff, and all the different ways that bodies work, so that he can use that body to engage in revenge against all of the different people who've wronged him. Let's get some more. Let's see. There we go. So he's creating this body so that he can use it as a disguise, so that he can go on all these different revenge quests. and he creates more and more different bodies, and he jumps into them, and he's slowly taking revenge on all of these different people. The people responsible for burning down his house, for putting him in prison, for stealing his girlfriend. And he even at one point has to like fake dead, so he like sends this body out to like pretend to be him, while he like takes this like potion that makes him like smell dead and look dead for like many days, and then he eventually wakes up. And whenever he wakes up, he has to like go on this big escape, right? Because literally everyone right now in the whole world is like, oh my gosh, there's a guy going around like taking revenge on all the people who's wronged him, and we're all in danger because we've all wronged him because we're all man, and we weren't focusing enough on the world around us, and we were focusing on ourselves, and he's taking revenge on us. Oh no. Which, you know, that's the kind of stuff that Orwell like isn't afraid to confront, those sorts of stories. So he gets as an escape plan, he like gets on this plane with all these other boys, and they're like young boys like him, you know. And then no one would have seen it coming, but the plane crashes on an island in the middle of nowhere. And on that island, there's actually like the remains of one of the animals from the beginning of the book. It's like this pig on a stick. It's really like graphic imagery, especially considering this is like a kid's book, and that it like rhymes and everything. It's like way out there. So anyway, they are on this island, and they realize that the only way that they're gonna be able to survive is to create a government. So they decide to create this government, and it's like this really strict authoritarian government. And I mean, before it gets authoritarian, things kind of go to heck in a handbag, if you know what I mean. But after things calm down a little bit, then the people who survive create like this very authoritarian government. And there's like no thought in the government or in the society that they create, no independent thought. You're not allowed to like have dreams without telling them to your parents. You get assigned a job whenever you turn, I don't remember how old, like 13 or 16 or 12 or something like that. And then you just train in that profession for your whole life. And there's one kid who is assigned to be the receiver. The receiver of this society is the person burdened with all of the memories of the revolution on that farm and the crazy revenge plots and the talking gorilla and all this stuff. And so then this one kid, this receiver, is like kind of traumatized by all of this new knowledge. And so he decides to just run away, because after understanding the origins of his society, he cannot be okay with like living there and implicitly supporting a system that is broken, that is clearly hurting the people around him. So he runs away. And while he's running away, he finds this this old opera house. in France, and he hears the music coming out of it, and he remembers what music sounds like. It's this beautiful, beautiful sound of these people singing, and this one girl singing especially. So he goes into this opera house, and he's not allowed to be there. Like, he doesn't have ID or anything. He's from this weird, like, island society. So he just hides out up in the rafters of the opera house, as well as deep down below the opera house in these tunnels. That's where he, like, builds his lair. And he learns how to sing opera. He learns how to write music. He learns math and art and science. He becomes a genius. Unfortunately, he's a genius who's seeking his own revenge. So he hides out in these caves for a very, very long time. And while he's in these French caves, Stalinist Russia comes to power. So you can see we've moved forward quite a bit in time here from that, like, society with the animals. I'm pretty sure that one was based on, like, North Korea or something. Now we've gone from there, which was like a long time ago, into like the USSR. And the USSR is conquering France with like this different authoritarian regime. Yeah, and so like they're locking it down, like, you know how like the Russian like police, or you know what I'm talking, yeah, okay, you know what I'm talking about. Thank you. Sorry, I was feeling insecure for a moment, but like I read this book, so I know what I'm talking about. I should be more confident. I think it's like a girl thing, like sometimes whenever we're saying stuff, we're not as confident as we should be. But yeah, thank you for reassuring me. So Stalinist Russia conquering France. There's all these police, they're locking down the place, and this phantom who at one point was obsessed with like fame and revenge through that fame, and like gaining notoriety for all of his smarts, and this woman that he was in love with, and yada 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 yada. Because he's so locked down in this opera house, and because his movement is restrained, he is forced to slow down and contemplate life, like on a deep, important level. And so he starts writing in a diary, and he has all these like really beautiful boy to man to woman to womanesque revelations about the nature of maturity and adulthood and womanhood, and he like comes into himself as this like man in touch with his feminine side. And it becomes like the moral of his journal is basically that even through all of this hardship that he remembers, he's still this boy that like received all of these memories of this horrible past society. Even through all of this horrible stuff that he remembers and that he's going through, and he knows that at the end, like, all there is death for him in the future. But he believes that people are essentially good inside, even through all that pain. And that the point, if there is a point to any of this, isn't to live, it's to love. And it's to find joy in the darkest places. And his journal kind of like serves as a testament to that. And as he's having these beautiful, beautiful thoughts about the world, finally these Russian police like come through and they're gonna catch him and they're gonna kill him, but then they see him and they can't kill him because they see him and they know that they are looking at the last living unicorn, because only a unicorn could have thoughts that are so beautiful, and only a unicorn could have such an air of like divine androgynous wisdom. And so then they take him and they say, we're gonna try and help you find your people. You need to find your people because you've been stuck in this human body for so long that you're starting to forget you're a unicorn. And so then he goes on this journey of self-reflection and remembering that he is a unicorn. And he starts running faster and faster towards home. And he falls in love with one of these ex-Russian police, because they deprogram their toxic Russian thoughts, and they're helping this unicorn find its way back home now. So like some of them fall in love and they like get married on the road, and it's like this beautiful ceremony. And they realize that there aren't any unicorns left and that they all went into the sea, actually. And now they're sea foam. And the closer they get to the sea, the more stormy the weather gets. And there's all these puddles, and they're stomping through the puddles. And then finally, they get to the sea. And that's when they realize, because there's this prophet who's there to greet them. There's this prophet that's there to greet them. They realize that the puddles that they were stomping through, that was actually the unicorn's dad. And the Russian police person that he married was actually his mom. And so then he takes an umbrella out of his carpet bag and he floats into the sky without even saying goodbye. Oh, I'm sorry. Anyway, that's 1984. And that moment when he takes that umbrella out of his bag and floats into the sky, that is like the epitome of the idea of what is Orwellian. It like shakes me up even thinking about it. I'm so sorry, my heart's beating so fast just thinking about that story, because Orwell was such an important author and he did so much good work. And you don't even need to read the book now because I told you all the important parts. So yeah, I hope you liked it.